It may seem like a really big quantum leap from domestic violence to world peace, but it's actually in the home where the attitudes are set. So children see their parents or carers as role models. So if they're brought up in a violent relationship, in a violent household, how can they possibly, as adults, function in the world in a non-violent way? So if children are brought up in a loving, healthy relationship, hopefully that's what goes on then for the rest of time. And hopefully our leaders will also see that that's the way that we need to bring our children up. So that's, I guess, the basis of what this is all about. And people across the world are working towards this sort of thing. So rather than work in isolation and reinvent the wheel, let's do it together.
And this coalition, this show of unity, what kind of message do you think that might send out to the rest of the world?
One of hope. It has to be, and one of power in a good way. I'm just amazed coming so far from Australia to see the types of people here who are supporting it, the passion, the energy that's involved. And anyone who sees what people have said today couldn't help but be moved by it.
And in terms of your own organisation, what will you be able to do in terms of mobilising your networks and bringing people together to take action on this day?
I come from a very small non-profit based in Melbourne, in Australia. We're not even a national organisation, but I've certainly got the technology there to mobilise all our resources across the country. We're very lucky. We've got a number of people who already are talking on blogs and websites. So I'll be getting all those people together. To be honest, I haven't come up with an event or an action yet, but that's simmering away and it'll be pretty exciting.
Do you think people will join in?
Yeah, it's an interesting question. We're not quite as advanced in Australia as you are in the UK. That's my gut feel. My particular program is with businesses, and they're still at the stage of believing that it's got nothing to do with them. So the eyes glaze over a bit. So there's a long journey to go, but we've got 6 months, and I think if enthusiasm can do anything, we'll get there.
How important is raising awareness of issues around domestic violence in the context of a sustainable peace, world peace?
Well, once again, it's like the root cause of everything. An ounce of prevention's worth a pound of cure. So you've got to start with the beginning rather than looking at the outcome. So try and prevent things from happening rather than treating the symptoms. And to me, that's how it's got to grow from the small acorn.
In your particular region, what are the, I mean, obviously a very broad and far-reaching subject we could talk about for hours, but it's, what are the key issues in domestic violence that you're dealing with in Australia?
I guess the stats are fairly similar to the UK and to the States. I was listening today about some of the stats from Latin American countries and African countries, and we're certainly nowhere near that. And you could think that we're blessed, but each woman's story is so tragic. So it doesn't matter whether you're talking about 2% of the population or 40% of the population. It's those individuals that you really have to remember. Of course, like a lot of other countries, we're grappling with the issue of domestic violence with our Indigenous peoples. And, you know, an Aboriginal woman in Australia is 35 times more likely to be beaten up by a husband than a white woman. She's 10 times more likely to die. And they're just hard, cold facts. You can't get away from them. So I guess it's the same sort of issue that every country is dealing with.
And by definition, a campaign to reduce domestic violence is about asking people not to do something, to stop doing something. But what is it proactive? What is it that people can actually do on the 21st of September, for example, to support the campaign?
It's interesting, when you say it's about stopping people from doing something, it's like saying to a bloke, have you stopped beating your wife yet? What's he going to say? It's a really hard question. So for me, it's about being a bystander and preventing other people from doing it. by not saying something, you are complicit in the violence. You're almost as bad as the perpetrator. So for me, it'll be about asking people to take a stand against it. If you see someone or hear someone make a sexist comment or a rude gesture to a woman, just stop and say to them, hey mate, it's not on. What if that was your sister? So getting people to actually think about what they're doing.
Do you think it's possible that we could see a world record for the largest reduction in global violence on Peace Day 21st?
Absolutely, absolutely. It'll be so exciting. We have to mobilise all those ways of measuring the violence in the world, and that's going to be a real challenge. But gosh, you can measure anything these days. So, no, absolutely achievable.
You've answered this question, but I'm going to ask it again. What will you be doing on the 21st September 2012?
You know, I was inspired by some of the ideas yesterday in the workshop that we had with the delegates from the 5 countries and some other people who were in the room. Little symbolic things I think can mean so much, like lighting candles. Someone came up with the idea of lighting the 8 wonders of the world in purple or something. Wouldn't it be great to see Ayers Rock lit up in a particular colour? I don't know, the world's your oyster, really. Just takes a bit of imagination.